Jinwoo is an E-rank hunter, known far and wide as the weakest hunter of all mankind. The title clings to him like a shadow. Despite technically being a hunter, his abilities barely surpass that of an average civilian. Just slightly better endurance and a quicker healing rate. Without notable strength or any kind of backing, Jinwoo had no choice but to cling to this dangerous job. Why? Because the Hunter Association helped cover his mother's extensive hospital bills. Without that, he might have walked away long ago. Every day, Jinwoo throws himself into low-tiered dungeon raids organized by the association, always on the brink of injury or death. While others see him as a walking joke, they also find comfort in his presence. After all, if even Jinwoo is on a raid, it must mean the danger is minimal. And yet Jinwoo often ends up hurt, even needing hospitalization from mere E-rank gates, something that no one else struggles with. During one of these routine raids, after the monsters have seemingly been cleared, a hidden second gate is discovered, a phenomenon known as a double dungeon, something rare and ominous. Their team can't see what's beyond, and there's a growing unease. Their leader, Mr. Song, offers a vote. Should they wait for the association or go in themselves to claim the full reward? The vote splits 8-8. All eyes turn to the last undecided person, Jinwoo. He hesitates. Deep inside, he senses something isn't right. But when he thinks of his younger sister preparing for college and remembers how he had to drop out of school due to financial hardship, he steels himself. He doesn't want her to go through the same pain. With nothing in savings and no other means of income, Jinwoo chooses to risk it all. He raises his hand and agrees to move forward. That fateful decision sets into motion a series of events that will forever alter his life, his power, and perhaps the very nature of what it means to be a hunter.
The team of hunters continues their descent into a dark, seemingly endless dungeon tunnel. Led by Song's flickering flame spell, they carefully press forward. Though anxious, they remain hopeful that the dungeon boss will appear within their time limit. Jinwoo, already injured, walks at the rear with Joo-hee, a B-rank healer who is visibly frustrated with his recklessness. Despite regularly healing Jinwoo during raids, this time she scolds him for endangering himself again, revealing deep concern. However, their tense moment softens when Joo-hee invites Jinwoo to make it up to her with a meal. Suddenly, excitement stirs at the front of the group. They've found a massive stone door at the end of the passage. A door inside a dungeon is unheard of, and unease spreads quickly. Yet, Song's confident leadership reassures the group. Whispers of legendary treasure hidden in double dungeons begin to circulate, and greed replaces fear. Some dream of riches. Others, like Jinwoo, simply hope for a better life. With only one low-grade mana stone to his name, Jinwoo too chooses to press on. As the stone door creaks open, the team enters a vast ancient hall, reminiscent of a forgotten underground temple. The walls and ceilings are covered in moss and lined with torches that ignite on their own, bathing the room in light. Statues of various figures, some bearing weapons or instruments, stand in a circular formation. But one statue towers above all others, a godlike figure seated on a massive throne, so large it rivals the Statue of Liberty in scale. Though unmoving, its sheer presence chills the hunters. No monsters appear. Instead, the center of the floor holds a mysterious magic circle, unlike any they've seen before. Among the statues, one winged figure stands apart, holding a stone tablet inscribed with ancient runes. Only mage-class hunters can read such text. Song begins to decipher it, reading aloud the first line, "The commandments of the Temple of Carthenon."
As the hunters explored the eerie temple, Juhi suddenly noticed something terrifying. The giant statue of the deity had moved its eyes. Though Jinwoo first dismissed it as imagination, a chilling silence fell over the entire place. Even the torches stopped crackling. Something was wrong. Meanwhile, Mr. Song continued reading the ancient stone tablet. It spoke of the commandments of the Temple of Carthenon, to revere, praise, and prove faith in the Lord. Those who disobey these commandments would not survive. At that moment, the dungeon's entrance slammed shut. A panicked hunter tried to flee, but was instantly decapitated by a guardian statue wielding a massive mace. Terror spread. The great deity's statue's eyes glowed red, and then it fired a deadly beam of energy. Jinwoo barely managed to warn the others in time. Some reacted quickly enough to survive, but 5 hunters were vaporized instantly. The survivors lay still, too afraid to move. Mr. Song realized that the statue only attacked when someone moved or reached a certain height. He commanded everyone to remain flat on the ground. During the chaos, Jinwoo noticed that Song's arm had been severed. Despite the pain, Song continued giving orders, relying on Jinwoo's quick instincts. As time passed, one hunter named Ju snapped under pressure and attempted to run. Just as predicted, the statue targeted him and annihilated him completely. Jinwoo began to question, why doesn't the statue just kill them all at once? It seemed to follow specific rules, only attacking when someone moved or reached a certain height. Then he remembered the inscriptions on the stone tablet, commandments of the Temple of Carthenon. Realizing the room was governed by mysterious rules, Jinwoo tested a theory. He slowly stood up, suspecting that the attack only targeted people who rose above a certain level. He barely dodged the beam, but the experiment confirmed his hypothesis. The first commandment, "Revere the Lord," might be more than ritual. It could be the key to survival in this twisted game of death.
After sensing that the temple obeys hidden rules, Jinwoo shouts to the remaining hunters they must kneel before the statue of the god to survive. However, his idea is met with outrage and disbelief. The other hunters, especially Kim, mock and curse him, thinking he's lost his mind. Jinwoo, trusting only his instincts, struggles to convince them. To everyone's surprise, Mr. Song, the team leader and a veteran hunter, chooses to believe Jinwoo. He kneels before the giant statue without hesitation. His action shocks the others. Taking advantage of the moment, Jinwoo pleads with the rest of them to kneel, arguing it might be the only way out. Slowly, one by one, the hunters begin to kneel. Even Kim, filled with anger moments before, finally relents. But nothing happens. The statue's eyes still glow red. That's when Jinwoo notices Juhi's posture. She hasn't fully knelt. He helps her adjust, then takes his own proper position and bows low to the ground. Suddenly, the red glow in the statue's eyes fades. The room bursts into cheers. The hunters rejoice, thinking they've finally survived. Some even stand up and celebrate. But Jinwoo knows better. He remembers there are still 2 commandments left. As the ground rumbles violently, the giant statue begins to move. Shock washes over the room. The hunters fall silent as the godlike figure rises to its full height, nearly touching the ceiling. Its sheer size and weight shake the ground with every step. It turns its gaze toward the group and starts walking toward them. Panic returns. Those who moments ago cursed Jinwoo now look to him with desperation, begging him to tell them what to do next. But the game isn't over.
In the midst of chaos, Jinwoo remains the group's last hope. As the colossal god statue draws near, he explains the second commandment, "Praise the Lord." A timid young hunter who once sang in a church choir volunteers to sing. At first, his hymn appears to calm the statue, encouraging the group. But soon, without warning, the statue crushes him mercilessly under its foot. Terror explodes across the temple. A female hunter freezes in fear and is instantly killed. The god statue begins moving rapidly, stomping and crushing hunters without hesitation. Jinwoo and Song split directions to avoid drawing attention, trying to keep Juhi safe. The temple becomes a slaughterhouse. Death is everywhere. While escaping, Jinwoo watches in horror as Mr. Park, who ran with all his strength for the sake of his family, is cleaved in half by a sword-wielding statue just as he nears the wall. Hunters who seek shelter by the temple walls are also ambushed by the smaller statues. Screams, blood, and the sound of crushing bones echo throughout the room. Despite being exhausted, Jinwoo's mind races. He keeps repeating the second commandment in his head. Praise the Lord. The answer must lie within this room. After observing, he realizes the statues are the only elements present, and they might be the key. He recalls that some statues are holding musical instruments, and at last it clicks. With a desperate breath, Jinwoo shouts, "Everyone, run toward the statues holding musical instruments!"
After Jinwoo shouted, "Run to the statues holding musical instruments," the remaining hunters obeyed without hesitation. Unlike before, no one questioned him. They trusted the man who had saved their lives once already. Mr. Song reached a harp-holding statue first, and as it began to play, a beautiful melody filled the air, bringing hope to all. Soon, melodies from trumpets, flutes, lyres, and mandolins echoed through the temple. The god statue, which had been chasing Mr. Kim, suddenly slowed and redirected its fury toward Jinwoo. Jinwoo and Juhee headed toward a statue holding drums, but the statue remained still. He quickly realized that the statues only played music when one person stood alone. With no choice, he left Juhee behind to protect her. As he ran, the drum began to sound. His theory was correct. Now, Jinwoo was the only one still moving, and the statue's wrath focused solely on him. Though the weakest E-rank hunter, he used every ounce of strength to dodge the deadly footsteps. As he neared another statue, he failed to notice it held a shield, not an instrument. The statue raised its weapon and struck. Jinwoo rolled away just in time, but suffered a head wound that blurred his vision. Desperate, he searched for another statue, but there were none with instruments nearby. The god statue lifted its foot again, preparing to crush him. At that moment, Jinwoo spotted a statue holding a book, not a weapon, not an instrument. With fading strength, he crawled toward it, but it was too late to escape. Breathing heavily, he looked up at the god statue's grotesque, enraged face as it prepared to deliver the final blow.
Just as Jinwoo prepared for death, the colossal god statue suddenly stopped in front of him. Lying on the ground, breath ragged and vision blurred, he felt as insignificant as a mouse cornered by a giant beast. In that moment of despair, a beautiful melody began to echo through the temple. It came from the statue holding the book right beside him. The statue began to sing, its divine voice calming the air. Slowly, the furious expression on the god statue's face faded, and it returned to its throne as if nothing had happened. The temple fell silent. Juhee immediately rushed to Jinwoo's side, prying, desperately channeling every last bit of her healing magic. But it was futile. Jinwoo finally noticed the reality. His right leg was gone. Blood pooled beneath him. The severed limb lay beneath a blood-stained shield held by a statue. Juhee's mana was spent. Even a skilled B-rank healer couldn't regenerate a lost limb. Her nose bled from overexertion, but she refused to stop. All around them, the surviving hunters gathered with grim expressions.
Only 6 remained from the original 17, and 2 were seriously wounded, Jinwoo and Mr. Song, who had lost an arm. No one could smile, despite surviving. Suddenly, a rumbling noise shook the room. At the center of the temple, the magical circle began to rise, forming a pedestal. Jinwoo knew immediately this was the final test. "Prove your faith," he whispered. As the pedestal rose to waist height, Jinwoo called it what it was, a sacrificial altar. The other hunters stared at him, stunned. Then Mr. Kim, the strongest remaining hunter now that Mr. Song was wounded, drew his sword. Everyone gasped. He pointed the blade at the altar, then turned his gaze to Jinwoo. "We have to sacrifice someone, don't we?" Jinwoo nodded solemnly. Without hesitation, Mr. Kim turned his sword on Mr. Song, accusing him of leading everyone into this nightmare. 11 people died because of you," he shouted. Jinwoo tried to stop him, but Mr. Song gently laid a hand on his shoulder and shook his head. With calm resignation, he stood up. "Mr. Kim is right," he said. He accepted the responsibility and was prepared to offer himself as the sacrifice to save the rest.
Despite the group having unanimously agreed before entering the double dungeon that no one would place blame later, the grief of losing his close friend Park overwhelms Mr. Kim. Consumed by rage, he holds Mr. Song responsible and follows him onto the altar with a drawn sword, ready to strike if needed. Jinwoo feels powerless. He knows Mr. Song is not at fault, but having lost a leg, he cannot stop Mr. Kim. Worse yet, Ju-hee is using all her remaining strength to heal him. If Jinwoo acts recklessly, both he and Ju-hee might become Mr. Kim's next victims. Mr. Song steps onto the altar, and a single red flame ignites at the edge. Everyone holds their breath, expecting something dramatic, but nothing else happens. Confusion spreads. Had they misunderstood the third commandment? Prove your faith? Hope flickers in Jinwoo's heart. Maybe a life doesn't need to be sacrificed. With the help of 2 other hunters and Ju-hee, Jinwoo climbs onto the altar. As the 4 of them stand there, 3 more red flames appear, now totaling 4, matching the number of people on the platform. Jinwoo quickly understands each person who steps on the altar triggers a red flame. A complete circle would require 6 flames, and thus 6 people. He calls for Ju-hee and Mr. Kim to join them. Ju-hee obeys immediately, and after a brief hesitation, so does Mr. Kim. When they step onto the altar, 2 more red flames flare up, completing the circle of 6. Suddenly, from the edge of the platform, small blue flames begin to rise, one by one. Jinwoo counts 36 blue flames, the exact number of people who had entered the room since the beginning of the trial. Their appearance signals a major event is unfolding. And then, with a deep rumble, the massive stone door, sealed since the beginning of the trial, suddenly creaks open. A new trial awaits them.
After the massive door mysteriously opened, instead of relief, fear gripped the hunters. No one dared to step off the altar, haunted by the horrific deaths they'd previously witnessed. All eyes fell on Jinwoo, waiting for his guidance, but he remained silent, deep in thought. Suddenly, ominous grinding and sliding sounds echoed throughout the chamber. The source was quickly identified. Not the statues themselves, but the stone platforms beneath them were moving closer toward the altar, enclosing the group. It was a silent, mechanical threat. At the same time, 3 of the blue flames extinguished. Jinwoo realized they weren't decorative. They were a countdown timer. 1 flame per minute, 36 total. They needed to stay on the altar for 36 minutes, keeping constant visual contact with the statues to stay alive. When they looked away, the platforms moved, the statues would strike. Then it happened. A man standing across from Jinwoo panicked. Unable to bear the pressure any longer, he screamed and ran toward the open door. Despite Jinwoo's desperate warning, the man escaped unscathed. However, a red flame went out and the door started to close slightly. In that moment, Jinwoo uncovered the cruel truth behind the final commandment. Prove your faith was never about ritual. It was a psychological trap. The open door wasn't a reward. It was a bait, a temptation. If even one person ran, it would give others hope, leading to collapse. When someone leaves the altar, a red flame extinguishes and the door moves closer to shut. If too many leave, the door will slam shut and the statues will attack mercilessly. Jinwoo now saw that 2 forces were influencing the group's fate. His own presence. Jinwoo had already saved them twice, and they instinctively trusted him. His authority kept everyone calm, halting a stampede. The false promise of the door. Once someone escaped safely, it seeded temptation in the hearts of others. The trap wasn't in killing them, it was in letting them choose their own destruction. And then the chain reaction began. The second man, who had earlier supported Jinwoo on the altar, broke down and fled. Mr. Song caught Jinwoo just in time to keep him from falling, but another red flame went out and the door moved closer to shut. Mr. Kim called out to stop him, but it was too late. Jinwoo shouted in despair, "Please don't move. We can't afford to lose anyone else." Now they stood at the edge of annihilation. One more slip, one more person tempted, and the entire group would perish. The situation grows dangerously unstable. Only 4 hunters remain: Jinwoo, Joo-hee, Mr. Song, and Mr. Kim. To monitor all 4 directions in the room, front, back, left, and right, at least 4 people are needed. If one more person leaves, the statues will gain an opening to attack, and it will all be over. Mr. Kim, gripped by self-preservation, asks Jinwoo a chilling question. What if the door closes once the blue flames disappear? Jinwoo can't give him a definite answer. His theory, based on evidence and past trials, makes sense, but it's not a guarantee. And that uncertainty is enough for Mr. Kim to abandon the group. He runs across the altar, ignoring Jinwoo's pleas, and passes through the door. Another red flame extinguishes. The moment he's gone, the statues start moving, their countdown triggered by the lack of visual coverage. Realizing the disaster has begun, Mr. Song turns to Jinwoo and Joo-hee with a bitter calm and says, "You two should leave." He plans to stay behind, believing that since he led everyone into this dungeon, he must now take responsibility for their survival. Jinwoo tries to argue, but Mr. Song insists. Then suddenly, Joo-hee collapses. Her lips have turned blue. Her body trembles. She's completely drained of mana from using healing magic on Jinwoo. She can't walk. Now it's Jinwoo's turn to decide. He can't leave Joo-hee behind, not after she risked everything to heal him. And he can't walk on his own either. In that moment, Jinwoo makes his choice. He breaks free from Mr. Song's grip, falls to the altar, and says, "Mr. Song, please take Joo-hee out of here." Mr. Song refuses, insisting again on staying. But Jinwoo presses. Then who will carry her? The question hits hard. Someone has to get Joo-hee to safety. Jinwoo can't do it. Mr. Song realizes he's the only one who can. To ease the pain, Jinwoo places an E-rank magic crystal into Joo-hee's hand, saying, "I promised to take you out for dinner, didn't I? Use this to buy it. I'll come get the change another time." Even facing death, Jinwoo manages a smile. It breaks Joo-hee's heart. Overcome with emotion, she cries out, but Mr. Song nods, then strikes the back of her neck, knocking her unconscious. As he picks her up, he bows deeply to Jinwoo, the one staying behind to face the statues alone. Jinwoo simply says, "This was my decision. Don't say anything more."
The statues had reached the altar. Jinwoo sat down and took a deep breath. He noticed a sword left behind by Mr. Kim and picked it up. He wasn't thinking of victory, only vengeance. If he was going to die, he would at least take one of them with him. Glancing back, he saw Mr. Song and Joo-hee had safely escaped through the door. Thank God. Looks like I'm the only one staying behind. But his words weren't noble. They weren't born from sacrifice. They were a cold, calculated acceptance. Jinwoo knew that even if he lived, a crippled E-rank hunter had no future, no skills, no power, no money. Who would pay his mother's hospital bills? Who would cover his sister's tuition? Maybe death is the best option I have. He thought about the death compensation, 300 or 400 million won.
That amount might mean a better life for his family, far better than the burden of a useless, disabled son. Just then, a statue drove a spear through his back, impaling him completely. Jinwoo coughed up blood, his body racked with unbearable pain. Ju-hee's past warning echoed in his head. If it had been a little higher, it would have pierced your heart. The statue threw him to the ground, shattering bones. Jinwoo, helpless and bleeding, began to sob. I don't want to die like this." Images of his family, Ju-hee, and everything he still longed for raced through his mind. At only 24 years old, was this really the end? A statue raised a massive sword, aiming directly at his head. Jinwoo, though trembling, locked eyes with it, as if defying death. Just once. If I had one more chance. Then it happened. Time slowed to a crawl. The sword continued descending, but at a pace slower than a falling feather. Jinwoo was stunned. Then a strange feminine voice rang in his head. You have fulfilled all conditions for the secret quest, Courage of the Weak. Secret quest? Conditions? Before he could react, the voice continued. You are now eligible to become a player. Do you accept? A player? Then came a warning. You are running out of time. If you decline, your heart will stop in 0.02 seconds. Do you accept? The sword still hovered, statues still closed in, and Jinwoo knew this was death. Why not? Too weak to speak, he responded with thought, and the voice answered, Welcome, player. A blinding light enveloped his body. Jinwoo lost consciousness. He woke up in a hospital. White ceiling, the sterile scent of antiseptic, a hard bed beneath him. It felt oddly familiar. After all, Jinwoo had spent so much time here that some joked this place was his second home. Some even claimed the hospital had a special room just for the weakest hunter of all. He placed a hand on his chest. His heart was beating. His body felt light, as if he had just awakened from a peaceful sleep. I'm alive. But how? The last thing he remembered was the sword, the statues, the hopelessness. Even if he had somehow avoided the killing blow, who had saved him? Only an elite S-rank team could have done it, and they weren't there. Was it all just a dream? He slowly lifted the blanket. He expected his leg to be missing, but before he could check, a deep male voice called out, You're awake?
After waking up in the hospital, Jinwoo was startled by a voice coming from the corner of the room. He turned his head and saw two men dressed in sleek black suits approaching him. One of them, a muscular man with a military-style haircut, handed Jinwoo a business card. It read, Korean Hunters Association, Hunter Surveillance Division, Chief Woo Jin-chel. Jinwoo immediately felt the pressure. The HSD is known for housing some of the strongest hunters in the country, tasked with monitoring and disciplining other hunters. If they were here, something serious must have happened. Wu Jinchel and his subordinate began questioning him. Jinwoo was shocked to learn he had been unconscious for 4 days. They asked him to recall what happened before he blacked out. Jinwoo retold the events, but left out the mysterious voice and the secret quest. He simply described being attacked after violating the commandments and losing consciousness in the temple. Hearing his account, the 2 agents exchanged glances. They hadn't found much else themselves. Jinwoo asked, "How did I end up here? Did one of the big guilds come and handle the dungeon?" What Wu Jinchel explained next shocked Jinwoo even more. The Hunter Association and the White Tiger Guild, one of Korea's top 5 guilds, arrived at the dungeon site shortly afterward. But when they entered, everything was gone. No statues, no statue god, no signs of battle, only Jinwoo lying unconscious in the center of the room. Even they couldn't believe it. Had it not been for the survivors giving consistent testimonies and the fact that the other victims had vanished without a trace, the association might have suspected a cover-up. Wu Jinchel, who had been an A-rank hunter for 6 years and seen it all, admitted this was his first case he couldn't explain. Even after reaching out to international guilds and associations, no one had ever heard of such a dungeon. With no better explanation, the association arrived at a singular, astounding theory. There was indeed a powerful threat in that chamber, but someone or something defeated it. The dungeon gate closed, nothing escaped, and the only survivor was Jinwoo. Thus, they concluded, "We believe you've undergone a reawakening." Jinwoo's eyes widened. Reawakening is an extremely rare phenomenon where a hunter, already awakened, gains new, overwhelming powers. History has shown E or D rank hunters transforming into A ranks, even S ranks. If this was true, Jinwoo's life was about to change forever.
After waking up in the hospital, Jinwoo was visited by his younger sister, Jinna. She scolds him emotionally, bursting into tears, asking why he's always the one who gets hurt. Jinwoo comforts her, deeply moved, silently blaming himself for nearly leaving her behind. The sibling bond is tender and heartfelt. Then, something odd appears before Jinwoo's eyes, a message saying, "You have unread mail." Curious and confused, Jinwoo remembers that Jinna used to be a gamer. With her advice, he tries saying, "Open," and the system responds. Jinwoo receives 2 messages, one welcoming him as the player, and another assigning a daily quest involving basic exercises. Though skeptical, he completes 100 push-ups. The system marks the mail as read, but nothing else seems to change. Frustrated, Jinwoo believes it's all a delusion and goes to sleep. But at exactly midnight, the system activates. Because he didn't finish the full quest,
Jinwoo is transported to a penalty zone. The room shakes violently, and everything turns to sand. Suddenly, Jinwoo finds himself thrown into an endless desert with no sun, no moon, no stars, and yet he can still see. This terrifying transition confirms that the system is real. It has the power to manipulate space and force consequences. Jinwoo now realizes this is no dream nor delusion. A mysterious power has chosen him, and he's already inside its game.
After neglecting his daily quest, Jinwoo was suddenly pulled into a terrifying place, an endless desert where survival was the only option. At first, he merely felt uneasy as the sand nearby began to sink. But dread surged when a massive creature, a sand centipede the size of a 5-story building, emerged from below. Its name floated above its head in glowing letters: Poison-fanged giant sand centipede. This wasn't a dream or a hallucination. Things escalated quickly when 7 more centipedes appeared, surrounding him. Then a system message echoed in his head: Penalty quest. Survive for 4 hours. With no choice, he ran, stumbled, and fought to stay alive. 4 agonizing hours later, he collapsed on the hospital floor, coughing and gasping for breath. The pain was real. The blood on his hand was real. And worse, his wound had healed, shocking the attending nurse who discovered it. But Jinwoo couldn't dwell on it. He just wanted to sleep and escape it all. When he awoke again, another system message came: the next daily quest. This time, however, Jinwoo was determined. Fear of another punishment drove him to push through push-ups, sit-ups, squats, and a 10-kilometer run. His muscles screamed, his lungs burned, but he persevered because he knew what failure meant. 3 hours later, Jinwoo completed everything. A message rang. He had earned his rewards: full recovery, +3 to all stats, and a random loot box. Exhausted, but finally hopeful, Jinwoo realized the system wasn't just there to punish, it could also empower. And for the first time, he didn't feel like prey. He felt like someone on the verge of becoming something greater.
The moment Jinwoo said yes to the system, a warm blue light enveloped him. The sensation was almost magical, similar to being healed by Yuhei's restoration magic. His exhausted body, once pushed to its limit, now felt fresh, as though he had just awoken from the most restful sleep. Every ache and pain vanished in seconds. He stood up, stretched, and moved around with ease. It was miraculous. In awe, Jinwoo noticed a small box on the bed, his reward box, and a glowing window that displayed his current stats. Everything looked like a typical RPG interface. He was level 1, with all attributes at a base of 10, and 3 unallocated stat points. He quickly scanned the skills he'd gained: Sprint and Unyielding Spirit, skills he learned while desperately running for his life from the giant centipedes. Sprint increased his speed, and unyielding spirit reduced damage when his HP dropped below 30%. More importantly, it didn't consume mana, a godsend for someone with only 10 MP. Jinwoo was stunned. Learning new skills wasn't easy in this world. Hunters needed runestones, rare and expensive, dropped only from high-level magical beasts. Some were sold for billions. And here he was, gaining skills for free, just for running. He laughed at the absurdity. Run like a dog and get 2 skills? Then he noticed another passive skill listed simply as unknown, level max. No description, no clues, a complete mystery. Jinwoo moved on to allocating his 3 stat points. After some hesitation, he chose Strength, easy to measure and feel. The number changed from 10 to 13. Curious, he lifted the bed. Slightly easier than before, but still hard to judge. Then he remembered the penalty quest, the torturous mission that almost killed him. It too offered a reward. Opening the message, Jinwoo eagerly accepted the extra 3 stat points and another reward box. Again, he dumped all points into Strength, now sitting at 16. This time, the difference was clear. He felt stronger, visibly so. He began to test his strength by lifting everything in the room. His excitement boiled over until a passing nurse glanced at him. Embarrassed, he calmed down, but his heart was racing. For once, he felt hope. From world's weakest hunter, he was finally growing stronger. Day by day, stat by stat. He began to wonder, could this be a second awakening? A rare phenomenon that transformed low-rank hunters into top-tier elites? Determined to find out, he used the hospital's VIP computer to research everything he could about reawakenings. He searched through private hunter forums, restricted websites, even paid for information. But no one had experienced anything remotely similar. Reawakenings were sudden, mystical, and unexplainable. No systems, no stat windows, no quests, no voice on the brink of death. Jinwoo wasn't going through a reawakening. He was walking an entirely different path. A secret evolution, perhaps?
Trying to understand what was happening to him, Jinwoo anonymously posted on an exclusive hunter forum, describing how he was seeing floating notifications and could assign stat points like in a game. But instead of support, he was met with ridicule. Dozens of users mocked him, called him crazy, or laughed it off as a joke. Disheartened but undeterred, Jinwoo realized something profound. He was alone. No one else in the world shared this experience. But instead of despair, this realization lit a fire in him. If he was the only one, then this power was his and his alone to master. Turning his attention to the system's rewards, he finally opened the 2 random boxes sitting forgotten in his room. The first contained bandages, the second, a pen. Both were utterly mundane. Disappointed but observant, Jinwoo noted something important. Only items from the system could be stored in his inventory, and that inventory actually existed. He activated it and was shocked to find the steel sword of Kim Sangshik,
the very weapon he picked up during the dungeon nightmare. Jinwoo smiled wryly, remembering that near-death experience. That ordeal had taught him 2 lessons. Kindness had gotten him nothing but betrayal. Those he saved turned their backs on him. If he wanted to survive, he had to look out for himself first. Every scar was a reminder. Mercy without strength was meaningless. Meanwhile, Nurse Yura was having a casual conversation with her friend who worked at the Hunter Association. She questioned Jinwoo's miraculous recovery, wondering if it was due to healing magic. Her friend denied it. Such self-healing while unconscious was impossible, except for a rare monster or maybe an S-rank hunter. This planted a dangerous thought in Yura's mind. Could Jinwoo be reawakening as an S-rank? If true, this could be her once-in-a-lifetime chance to befriend a rising legend. The thought made her grin uncontrollably. Back in his hospital room, Jinwoo stood in front of the mirror. After a week of daily missions, his body had transformed, muscles forming, fat disappearing, and even his height seemed to have increased. His strength stat had reached 31, and it showed. The nurses whispered as he passed by. Jinwoo, pretending not to hear, smiled inwardly. The system wasn't a dream. It was real. And now, it was time to leave the hospital and see what the world had in store for him.
After the shock of discovering the strange phenomena happening to him, from his miraculous physical recovery to the mysterious floating messages in the air, Jinwoo decides to keep it all a secret. He doesn't want to attract attention or scrutiny, knowing it could complicate his life. With the thought, "Let sleeping dogs lie," he chooses silence and quietly begins to explore his newfound powers. With his health stabilized and a desire to test a few things, Jinwoo is discharged from the hospital. While signing the paperwork, Nurse Choi Yura, visibly hesitant, shyly asks for his phone number. A sweet, light-hearted moment with a hint of affection. A slightly comical situation arises when Yura forgets to give him a pen, prompting Jinwoo to summon one from his inventory with just a thought. Clear proof of his newly acquired supernatural abilities. After leaving the hospital, Jinwoo heads to the Hunter Association to replace the phone he lost in the double dungeon. But learning that he would need to wait 2 weeks or pay 50,000 won to rent a new one, he opts to wait. He doesn't have the money, and frankly, he doesn't expect anyone to call him. With everything else settled, Jinwoo takes out the mysterious golden key, a random reward he had received earlier, and decides to investigate it. The key leads him to Hapjeong Station, but unlike what he imagined, this isn't a normal dungeon entrance. The moment he steps into the station, he is sealed inside an alternate dimension. He can't call for help. No one from outside can see him, and the entrance has vanished. A system message informs him that he can only leave by defeating the dungeon boss or using a return stone, which he doesn't have.
Left with no other choice, Jinwoo ventures deeper into the dungeon. Inside, the station has transformed into a desolate jungle, filled with the stench of rotting flesh and looming dangers. The eerie atmosphere, strange animal sounds, and flickering lights make everything feel like a scene out of a post-apocalyptic horror film. While cautiously navigating the area, Jinwoo is suddenly attacked by a massive wolf, a steel-fanged Lycan. He reacts swiftly, counters with his sword, and defeats it. But before he can relax, two more Lycans emerge. An intense action sequence unfolds. His sword gets stuck in the ground, forcing him to dodge and counter with a punch so powerful that it explodes a Lycan's head and sends its body crashing into the ceiling. Jinwoo is stunned by the sheer force of his attack, a strength far beyond what he imagined. A mixture of emotions surges within him: surprise, anxiety, curiosity, and a rising thrill, as he begins to realize he is no longer just a weak E-rank hunter.
Debilitating punch had shattered the Lycan's skull, a feat so incredible that the surviving beast cowered in terror, leaning its tail between its legs. Was this really the result of all those points poured into strength? The system alerted. Lycan Steel Fang defeated. Level up. He felt the actual change within him for the first time since this strange system began. He had previously clung to daily quests for mere survival, but now he found a new path to strength: dungeons. His stat bar confirmed he had reached level 2. All base stats had increased by 1. His strength now stood at 32. Additionally, leveling up granted 5 stat points, more than the 3 from daily quests, although he couldn't distribute them himself. What excited him most was the real-world impact, the sheer force of his punch, and his noticeably improved speed. He suspected that strength increased not just power, but also reflexes and movement speed. What was agility for, then? He knew he wouldn't get the answer unless he gained more stat points, and the only way to do that was to level up faster. Just as he resolved to do that, he realized the Lycan had fled. He sighed in disappointment at lost EXP. While surveying the annihilated beast for a magic core, he noticed something glimmering inside its mouth, a sharp, glinting fang. He touched it, and a message appeared: collect. Along with this, a new shop function unlocked. Though he couldn't access the buy tab, he could sell the fang and earn 20 gold. His first real currency inside this system. Just as he was about to leave, disappointed over missing the other fangs, since he'd obliterated their heads, a familiar sound echoed, growling. The cowardly Lycan had returned, with reinforcements. Now over 20 Lycans stood before him, but instead of fear, Jin smiled in excitement. He couldn't have asked for a better jackpot. Sword in hand, he rushed into the horde, eyes gleaming with hunger. And as he anticipated, his levels skyrocketed. After the massacre, he reached level 7, a massive leap. And then came another reward,
the Wolf Slayer title, granting him a 40% stat boost when facing beast-type monsters. His health, mana, and stats had risen sharply, although the loot was still meager, rusty daggers and an old explorer outfit. He now had 1,060 gold. While its real-world value was unknown, it felt like progress. Now he stood at a crossroads. The return stone in his hand, or the staircase leading to Dungeon Floor 2. The Jin of the past would have fled. He knew when to run. They called it luck. He called it strategy. But now he was done running. Something told him if he left now, he might never return. "I'm tired of running away." He pocketed the return stone and stepped forward down the stairs towards the only light in the darkness, towards his next test, towards transformation.
After defeating the swamp boss, Kasaka, and reaching level 17, Jinwoo didn't stop. He realized the monsters from floor 1 and 2 would respawn over time, so he repeatedly traveled back and forth between the 2 floors, farming EXP tirelessly. Messages like, "You leveled up," popped up continuously until his level got stuck at 15. It seemed the monsters on these 2 floors could no longer help him grow. Checking his stats, Jinwoo now had 45 strength, with the rest of his attributes at 24. This meant immense physical power, but also an important realization. His agility, now over 20, had significantly altered his perception. Enemies appeared to move in slow motion, thanks to increased vision speed and reflexes. Dodging and counterattacking became smoother. He truly felt agile. Jinwoo understood the combination of strength and agility was deadly in close combat. Then came the descent. Despite clearing everything above, Jinwoo hesitated at the stairway to floor 3. His heightened sense stat warned him of something dangerous lurking below, something far more powerful. Even without seeing it, he could feel it, the final boss. But he didn't run. With calm resolve, he slapped his cheeks, gripped his weapon, and descended. What greeted him was not tracks and trains, but a massive black lake. As he approached the water, a massive creature, Kasaka, a venomous serpent, exploded from the depths and lunged at him. He barely reacted in time, slashing with his magic sword, but the sword shattered. Kasaka's scales were stronger than metal. Its name appeared in orange, the first non-white named monster Jinwoo had ever seen. It was fast, tough, deadly. He dodged with precision, using his speed and slow motion perception, then leapt onto its back and choked its neck with all his strength. Kasaka slammed itself into walls and the floor, but Jinwoo endured, tightening his grip until he crushed its skull. Boss defeated. Level up, level up. He shot up to level 17. The biggest reward, the loot. Kasaka dropped a C-rank dagger with strong base attack and 2 effects, paralysis and bleed.
a huge upgrade from his broken sword, but it also dropped an A-rank poison sac, granting permanent 20% physical damage reduction at the cost of losing 35 strength forever. The trade-off was too steep. Jinwoo decided to keep the item for future use when his stats were high enough to afford the loss. Then came the final system message. The dungeon was closing. Everything faded to normal. Suddenly, Jinwoo was back in a lit train station. The lake was gone, replaced by regular tracks, but there were no people, no trains. It was already 10 p.m. He had entered the dungeon in early afternoon and spent nearly 9 hours inside. Just as he was about to leave, a soldier's voice shouted at him, "You! Stop right there!" Jinwoo looked up. A soldier was glaring down the steps at him. "State your name. What were you doing down there? Didn't you hear the warnings?" Clearly, something had happened while Jinwoo was inside. The soldier's eyes fell on Jinwoo's broken sword, still in his hand, since broken items couldn't be stored. His tattered clothes only deepened the impression. The soldier's tone softened. His eyes widened slightly in recognition. Are you a hunter?"